Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor. We talk about movies on this show. And this episode exists because we set a Patreon goal. A Patreon goal that if we hit a certain amount, we would review a film by Uwe Boll. And we put a vote up.
A Patreon goal which I now regret.
There's a second one, by the way, for the same reward. But the Patreon goal, they got to vote between 4 films that are patrons at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You damn right I'm going to shell it out, this one, because I at least want more money for it.
You know, usually I give you shit for being a shill. No, this time go ahead. We deserve every penny for this awful mess.
So we watched Bloodrayne. And just for context, I don't believe either of us had ever actually seen an Uwe Boll film before. Obviously, we knew the reputation because we're not blind, or normally I'll say we'll start spoiler free and we'll go into spoilers halfway through. Sacrifice that here, full spoilers the whole time because you don't care. You shouldn't care. There's nothing to spoil.
If you do care, what the hell's wrong with you?
So.
Do you know what, it's funny, I assumed you'd seen at least one Uwe Boll movie before, because I know you watched some shite here or there.
Somehow I've avoided it. Somehow.
Okay, fair enough.
Somehow. Connor was drinking heavily through it.
Still am.
And here we are. So I knew Kristanna Loken was the lead in here, right? That wasn't a surprise. And the sad truth is that she was in Terminator 3, she was in a couple of things, and then... yeah, she's probably right at the calibre that Uwe Boll can probably get because she's not really doing anything else with her career at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
And admittedly, everyone that I know in this movie was in a pretty rough spot in their career at this time period. None of them were having exactly, big, massive successes at the time.
Was Ben Kingsley that bad right at that time?
I think Ben Kingsley goes through patches where he doesn't really do a whole lot of big stuff, and then he'll go through patches where he does a lot of it. But then because this is the thing, Ben Kingsley, I know for a fact, was in multiple Uwe Boll movies.
No, that's fair. But even if he goes through patches, he's still respected, no matter what, right? Like people just respect. It's Ben Kingsley. I respect him.
I don't after this.
No, not after this. I mean. He gave the most half-hearted performance I've ever seen. Half-hearted is being generous, frankly.
Yes. Even my cat is shocked by it. Aren't you, Firefly? Yes. Yes, I am.
See, normally this is the point where I give the cat shit. But I can't, because the movie was worse than the cats.
So, Firefly, leave me alone. So we have Michael Madsen, who admittedly also, not in a great place in his career at this point, and occasionally, he'll be called in for the next Tarantino movie because Tarantino likes him, but not necessarily
for some reason.
Yeah, he does a lot of direct-to-video stuff and whatnot. We got Michelle Rodriguez in there. We got Udo Kier,
who's usually all right, to be fair. Michelle Rodriguez.
I mean, she's fine for what she does. She's not like a great actress, but
but better than this.
I mean, if you put her in the tough girl role, she'll be serviceable there. Although you put her in this where she's meant to have an English accent, and we start getting some weird results. And then we have Billy Zane, who's in 2 scenes.
To be fair, Billy Zane does fuck all, so why not?
But and then from there, I mean. Here's the thing, right? So I've seen all of these people be in good movies. Well, most of them. Kristanna Loken, Terminator 3 is not actually that good, but
it's better than this.
And Michelle Rodriguez, admittedly, if I really think about it, I mean, she's not really. I mean, I like Avatar, I suppose, but she's like a fairly minor character in Avatar, though.
Yeah, but she's never a bad part of any movie she's in.
Yeah, I don't see Fast and the Furious one and think, oh, that's terrible because of Michelle Rodriguez. It's terrible because the script's
she just happens to be there,
yeah.
Right?
She's not in a lot of good movies, but yeah. And Billy Zane was in Titanic with James Cameron, so I mean that's 2 James Cameron alumni we've got. Michael Madsen comes from the Tarantino alumni.
Yeah, and as much as many of our viewers will know, I'm not a big fan of Tarantino. I never fault his actor choices
or his direction of acting. I feel like one thing you can say about Tarantino is that his characters always ooze charisma because the dialogue flows effortlessly out of them, and they deliver it with such aplomb. Whereas here, every single actor in this movie, no matter their experience, has this death stare where they just read the lines like a robot.
I will say Ben Kingsley is the worst for the stare.
He is. He's terrible in this. He's absolute garbage. He's straight up garbage.
I didn't know it was possible to get this bad a performance out of him. And
then, so you've got, like, so the plot, what there is of it. So Kristanna Loken plays Rain, the titular Bloodrayne, and titular is a particularly apt word in this case because the film is obsessed with her cleavage. So, you know, she's got this necklace she gets early on, this cross, and it neatly just points to her cleavage so that the camera can constantly have close up of her tits. That is the movie.
I would like to point out, you correctly specified there that it was a cross, but every character in this movie refers to it as a crucifix.
But it's not. It's a cross, yeah.
It's a cross, because a crucifix needs the Jesus on it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just a cross.
Oh, I didn't know that. There you go. I've learned something. Fancy that. But hey, so she is a special vampire. She's kind of like Blade. She's like a half-breed. Ben Kingsley, who's the villain vampire, what's his name down here? Kagan. He raped her mother, which led to her being born. So she's like half vampire. She feeds on blood, but she doesn't kill humans. She's a good vampire, and she's a circus freak right now, where they cut her and then feed her goat's blood, and then they show the audience their healing. It's not a great show, to be honest, but they do it for some reason.
Yeah, something that I've never heard of in any vampire lore before this. Although I won't give the movie too much shit because I assume this comes from the game that it's based on. Is that water hurts them? Like, not holy water, just any water.
Yeah. And that may be from the game, it may not be. I never played a Bloodrayne game.
Not me either. But I mean, I assume they took that from the game because it feels like a game lore, right? It feels like an excuse where they couldn't make a character swim at the time, so water kills her.
Then why do we have a scene in this where she has a fight underwater and she's fine?
No, to be fair, they say once she absorbs the eye, that takes away the problem from water. The eye heals the water thing. Once she absorbs that, it's like, water's fine now. That's why you were fine in that water trap.
Alright, we'll get to that trap room later, don't you worry.
Yeah.
So, she's a vampire. She wants to confront her father, who's this evil vampire overlord. Everyone talks as if vampires are a hidden secret, like they would be in most movies or TV shows now, but every single character that she runs into, or that any character talks to, knows about the existence of vampires. There's not a single civilian who's like, vampires? What? Not one. Not a single one.
No. Joe, just a side note, I've just looked over at what I'm listening to on Spotify, because I'm like, I like this music. It's on, it's on shuffle, and it's come up with some Witcher music. I'm like, yeah, Geralt would have dealt with this shite a lot easier.
Please let that Witcher TV show be good, please. Please. So she steals this eye. The lead vampire, the bad guy, he wants the 3 different body parts of this like ancient vampire that'll give him like superpowers or some shit. I don't know. It was hard to pay attention to a lot of this crap. And she goes to this monastery and she goes into this room where inside the box at the other side there's like the eye of this vampire, and she wants to steal it. And
hang on a second, before we go any further, we have to talk about the effects of this room.
What do you think I was about to say? What do you think I was about to talk about?
I'm pissed. What do you want me to say?
Do you think I was going to say, she just strolls across the room and gets it? No. There's a lot of bad effects in this movie, but the worst might be in this trap room. She takes a step, or she throws something in first, whatever she does first.
It's a sword with the handles.
And all of a sudden, out of the floor comes all these big, rotating blades.
Yeah.
Big buzzsaw sort of type blades. And they're moving around the room really quickly. And it is
the sort of trap you'll see in a video game very often,
yeah.
To be fair.
Although it's a lot more complicated than what a video game would probably have, because the way it was like zigzagging around was like nuts.
Yeah. And do you know what I don't get about this? Before we go into anything else, is you know what you say? Oh, she throws something into the room to check. It's a sword, and she throws it just to like 2 feet in front of her, or whatever it is. And she doesn't throw it onto one of the zigzagging lines where the swords are. She just throws it into the room, and the swords start. And then the sword stops moving because it's lost momentum because physics.
Mm-hmm.
So she throws one into the ceiling, and that one activates the blades for some reason.
Motion sensors. It's not about hitting the floor.
Yeah, but once that stops moving, shouldn't the blades all stop moving? It doesn't vibrate and swing for that long.
It doesn't continue forever though, because it stops until she wants to make her trip across, and then she does some matrix moves through the blades. But the point where we're getting at, which we've not got to yet, is that these blades look like they're out a PS1 game, not a PS2 game, not even a PS3 game, which was the console that just came out by the time this movie was out. No. These look like absolute garbage. They were eyesores. In fact, speaking of eyesores, every time there was an action scene in this movie, I got a headache. It is filmed with just this awful motion, and it cuts it's nauseating. And this is the main thing here, is that I'm really learning. Not only can Uwe Boll not direct actors, not only does he have a really bad script, not only does he pick shots that make it feel like the cheapest TV show imaginable. Not only all
I
that.
like the way you're saying not only, like they're excusable.
They're not excusable, but not only all these things. It looks like a cheap play, like almost all the time. It has this really bad, fake costumes, fake sets. The actors feel like they're playing dress up, and then you have like that kind of weird, almost like. When I say TV show, I mean obviously a lot of TV shows look really good now. I'm not thinking like a proper TV show. I'm thinking like a cheap sci-fi TV show. Like before they started putting.
What you're thinking is South of Hell levels TV show.
Well, I guess, but the difference with that is that's at present. I'm thinking more specifically things set in time periods like this.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking, if you go back and watch an episode of Xena looks better than this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It just does. This is nauseating the way it looks. Shots aren't lined up properly. The editing is weird. There's several moments in this where it becomes awkward what the actor's doing, because it lingers on their close up too long, and it just starts to feel,
because they're just staring into nothing.
Yeah, it just feels weird. And then it cuts to the wide shot. You're like, well, if you just cut to that 10 seconds ago, this might not have felt so stupid. But
no.
There's no. Because every time I've heard Uwe Boll talk, he always talks about how he thinks these films are important, and all I can think is, but you don't even do any directing. You don't have any shots to you don't have any I'll paste this scene out with a nice move here or this or that. It's just basic coverage the entire time. It's not filmmaking.
At best.
At best, yes. Sometimes that's not even on the cards. And it looks so cheap and tacky. It looks so cheap and tacky. But this is the thing. He had his old tax loophole, and that's how he could make movies for so long, right? And then that dried up, which is why he's kind of stopped. Because no one was hiring him to make movies. That wasn't.
Is that why he does the boxing stuff now?
Yes.
I mean, I know he was a boxer, but he did the boxing challenge, right?
Well, that was before he stopped making the movies.
Was it? I thought it was after the last one.
No. That was after just one where he challenged a critic to a boxing match, which was a bit cheap because he's a trained boxer, so he knows he's going to win. He knows he's going to beat any schlub who's just going to come in the ring with him. What would be better though is maybe Guns at High Noon or something like that, something where he wouldn't have an advantage, and then we get a professional cowboy in,
and we might get the fact that he gets shot instead of just punched a couple of times.
And not that we're advocating violence against Uwe Boll. That's not what we're suggesting.
Of course not. Why would we advocate gun violence?
So this is incompetent in every single level. This is someone who has no idea how to shoot a scene, how to direct actors, how to pace a scene, how to block a scene, how to frame the camera, which is, you would at least think he'd hire a cameraman, and the cameraman who having maybe shot other things would at least fix things himself a little bit, would know I'll fix this a little bit.
Even I've worked on student films. that are better than this in terms of the camera work.
I've directed student films that's got better camera work than this. Not to toot my own horn, but yes, I'm going to make...
You know what? No. I've worked on one of your student films that was definitively better than this, and I give you shit all the time. Let's be honest. I'm not going to say it was a great movie just because it was, but it was better than this.
But it was a great movie.
It was all right. To be fair, it's better than half of the other student shit I've worked on.
But like, I should be like, I have never worked professionally as a director. I should not be able to confidently say I am better than someone at this. But I am. If you gave me this cast, if you gave me the budget he had, admittedly, I would spend the money in different places. Because I think that's the frustrating thing. I think a good director with the same budget, even with the exact same cast, would probably turn out a much, much better film.
No, it's true, because anyone who's listened to our stuff before will know I love to give you shit, right?
Yes.
But I am forced to agree with the fact that with the same budget, you would do a better job. And that hurts me on the inside a little bit. But I know that is true.
And I'm not even, I mean, like, something like working with actors properly is not something I have a ton of experience in. I have almost none of it. But I am convinced I do a better job than this.
I'm convinced you do a better job than this, and that's saying something.
This is maddening. It's maddening.
I like every actor has like a, you know how Christopher Walken does that pause in his sentences. Every actor has that in this movie. And it's like they were requested to take their time on every line.
Yes. You want dramatic pauses every few lines. That was the direction he probably gave them, and that was it.
It was, yeah.
Michelle Rodriguez, do this English accent. I know you didn't do it in the first 5 scenes you were in the movie, but let's just start doing it now. It'll be fine because her accent literally gets more English as it goes. What?
It does. I was going to say she tried in the first couple of scenes, and it was really bad.
Then it went away.
Then it went away, and then suddenly it was like, I mean, it's better. It's still not a good English accent, but it's better than it was.
We cannot let this happen. We have to stop the vampires.
It's funny in the trailer talk that we did recently.
Yes.
You talked about Natalie Dormer playing up her English accent.
Yeah, she was doing it too much. She was turning it up to 11.
That's what Michelle Rodriguez was trying to do in this. It's like that's what they asked. It's like just do an English accent to the biggest degree you can.
I think in the future when I say turn it up to 11, I'm going to say turn it up to Millie Bobby Brown instead.
You're going to forget that the next time you try and say turn it up to 11.
Well, we'll see. I can interchangeably go between Spoiler and Stephanie Brown, so we'll see if this lands with 11. So, oh my god, yeah, some really bad effects. The first time it cut to Ben Kingsley's castle, and the camera sort of went up it and then zoomed into a gargoyle. Yeah. And it was all CG. It was awful CG. It was that horrible.
No, to be fair though, the worst CG shot was in that the water trap with the saws. Was when it did a CG effect onto a sword in the ceiling. Yeah. That I don't know why that was so atrocious compared to going through this. Going through this building was bad. Don't get me wrong. But going up to that sword was even worse.
Yeah. So she ends up hanging out with the catcher, and they're like, oh wait, you may be a good person, and they capture her for a little bit, and she convinces Michael Madsen, because Michael Madsen and Michelle Rodriguez and generic white dude Sebastian, they are
who was in Vampire Diaries.
Yes,
quite a lot.
Yes, which was after this, but they capture her, and they work for this Order of Brimstone or whatever the hell they're called, and they have she convinces them to let her out and train, and Michael Madsen's kind of nice to her, I guess, but the other two seem to really hate her, especially the guy, until the very random out of nowhere softcore sex scene that just happens for no reason.
She's in a cell, there's a proper prison cell with metal bars and everything,
and she's having a nightmare. She's having a nightmare about the villain killing her mum. That's what she's having a nightmare about. And then
she just lets herself out of the cell.
Well, she's not locked. I don't think she's meant to be locked in yet. This is just a room now.
Right. Okay.
Because there was a scene earlier on where the door was just open, like hanging open.
No, you're right. You're right.
So this is just her room. They just didn't move her out the cell. She's free to go around. She's just that's her room.
It's pretty inconsiderate of them, though, right?
And she just gets out, and generic white dude's there, and she just throws him up against the bars, kisses him, and I'm like, why is this happening? And then she crouches down, and I'm like, he's gonna give him a blowjob, and she doesn't. She's just sort of prepping him, and then she jumps up and rips open her top. And I mean, there was a scene earlier on where there was like this like pimpy vampire who has like tons of naked women, and I was joking during the scene that I bet they all deeply regret doing this. And then I'm like, I didn't expect Kristanna Loken to get topless during this movie. Like, she must hate herself for this. Like, this must she did nudity for Uwe Boll. Like that cannot.
It was an awkward scene anyway, because when she went down for the blowjob, or as we thought,
yeah,
she went down and then came straight back up. It didn't look like she actually did anything.
No,
there wasn't enough time.
No, but it's implying that she's unbuckled him and got him out.
Yeah, it did it very briefly.
And then the scene itself lasts like another 3 minutes of her riding him and making lots of moaning noises.
And he's licking on her nipples.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, how like most sex scenes, there's certain things you'll always see in movies, and there's certain things you don't see just because, let's not have the actors do that because it's weird. We accept this level of like, intimacy and that's it. No, there's a shot in this, a close up of him licking her nipple, and I'm like, oh, she definitely regrets this. She definitely regrets this.
Yeah, she does.
Hell, I regret watching
it. This is awful.
I feel awkward because
this
the whole
is like my. This is like my 9th or 10th pint. I've lost track.
Yeah, the
plus
whole
a couple of whiskeys, and
the
it's
whole
so
thing
bad.
is shameless and sleazy. It's constantly a close up of her cleavage. Even when we get a flashback of her mother hiding her before the evil vampire comes to try and collect his daughter, because she's the villain's daughter, as we said.
Yeah.
And even in the scene where it's her mother like trying to like fight off against the villain, even she's got this gigantic cleavage. At which point I said, is cleavage hereditary? Maybe it is. Right.
Yeah, I genuinely question this. Like, is your boob size hereditary? I don't know.
I mean, do you have the same size of boobs as your dad?
Don't know. It's a fair question. I haven't seen him in long enough to know.
I don't know, but this is the stupid things the movie's making me think. And at one point she swaps her necklace, and I thought, oh, but how are they going to have all the cleavage shots now? And they just do it anyway. They don't care.
they
just do it anyway. Yeah, they just go for it.
That's the point where we were going, oh, that necklace is really conveniently placed, right?
Yeah, because it literally sits on her cleavage, so that they can constantly just have it on the cleavage.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's the point of a lot of necklaces in general, is to draw attention to that area. But after that, where the necklace is nowhere near that low, it's like, well, I mean, just do it anyway. Why not?
Yeah.
It's stylistic at that point, right?
That's the style of the movie. But no, seriously, the sex scene goes on for like 3 minutes, and what really made it feel like a softcore porn scene is just the constant sound of the smacking and her moaning throughout the whole thing. It was like, this is just a softcore porn scene. If I wasn't looking at the screen right now and I was just hearing this, I would assume someone's watching porn. And I know you can say that for a lot of sex scenes, but like I really genuinely feel like, no, this just sounds like porn.
It was sleazier than most sex scenes.
Yes, it felt sleazier. And then it's not until after this scene where they kind of smell at each other a few times, and it's like, oh, now they're kind of flirting. All right, weird.
They have a kind of weird flirty moment during the sparring when they're doing some sword training.
Again, after the sex scene.
And and like this scene, out of context, is fine, but in context of after the sex scene, it's weird. Like if that was before the sex, I'm like, okay, sure, this is the flirting, right? It's the aggressive flirting. It's fine.
Here's the thing I don't get. Well, I get it, but like the thing that bugs me here is none of the characters actually really get their motivations or who their characters are set up really. Like he hates her and he's like really suspicious of her, but outside of just a generic, well, he's a vampire hunter, there's no reason for it. He's constantly just like questioning her and like not trusting her, and it feels like we've missed something. Here's another big problem I have with the movie: is there's a few times, especially towards the start,
just one. just one big problem.
Another big problem. Near the start, there's a few scenes where it's like Michael Madsen's asking for information on this mystical like half breed, and and the bartender at this little tavern starts telling him about her, and it cuts to her in the circus and the the freak show, and then we see that she's friends with this other person in the show who gives her the necklace and who's nice to her even though she's in a cage, and then it cuts back to Michael Madsen. He's like, okay, thanks for the info, and he hands him like a little sack of gold. It's like, okay, right, okay, so they're going to go after her. And then it cuts back to Kristanna Loken, Bloodrayne, in the cage.
In the cage.
And I'm like, this is just continuing on where we left off. But that was like a flashback before when he was telling the story. It's like so clunky and doesn't and then even after this,
it doesn't even line up chronologically, does it?
And then after this, we see she's escaped and she's running around like the forest and stuff. And then it cuts. It's like it goes to this weird like blurry effect, and we see her. And here's the thing: she passes out, and then she wakes up in a cage, and there's a guy who comes into the cage. I thought this was just like next, like she'd fallen asleep in the forest, and this guy had found her and put her in a cage. It turns out, no, this was the cage she was in before, and now we're flashing back to how she escaped. So this is how broken the filmmaking is in this. It's unclear when there's a flashback, at least in the first chunk of the movie. Later on, it's always like this blurry effect, so you just kind of go with it. But
yeah, it's funny because I actually said at one point, these flashback transitions are worse than Arrow. They're as bad as that. Which, if you've watched any of our Arrow reviews, you'll know how I feel about those.
Yes.
But it's worse because at least in Arrow, I know it's a flashback. Like every time, I know I'm watching a flashback. As bad as they are, I know it's a flashback.
Absolutely.
This time I didn't until the end.
Yeah, you didn't until it got to the point where this had to be set before, and you're like, oh wait, this is her escaping.
Yeah.
And then later on in the movie, like Michelle Rodriguez, like she's the daughter of Billy Zane, even though the age difference is like not even that much.
but I mean, to be fair, Billy Zane is a vampire.
I don't think he's meant to have been a vampire for that. It's meant to be a surprise that he's a vampire when we first see him, because the end of the scene there's a close up of his neck being like dun dun dun, he's a vampire.
Yeah, you say surprise. I'm not sure it counts as a surprise when it's that blatant.
But she actually turns on them thinking, oh no, their plan isn't going to work. There's a fly on my pop shield, there you go. The plan's not going to work, so she betrays them, and then Kristanna Loken goes after her, and they actually she's going in the water to the next like thing, the heart I think it is, in the water, in the box, and Rain jumps in after it, and we get this really just awkward fight in the water where like I zoned out. I wasn't even paying attention after like the first couple of shots. And not until it ends where Michelle Rodriguez jumps out of the water and Kristanna Loken just jumps up behind her and just very suddenly quickly snaps her neck and then bites her. And like Michelle Rodriguez is just gone. She's been such a big part of the movie up until this point, and she's just gone within a second, unceremoniously.
Yeah.
And then she lies to the others about her death, because they know she betrayed them, I think. But she's like, no, she died with honor. If she did die, that is. And then Michael Madsen and Jarek White dude, they storm the castle. They come in and they get caught almost immediately. There's a few like 30 seconds maybe of like a really a nauseating fight scene, and then they're captured.
Fighting the lowest rung of vampires, right?
And Kristanna Loken's already been captured after she killed Michelle Rodriguez, so now they're all in a prison cell in the castle. And that leads me to the weird point of, at the end of the movie, getting into the big final fight, is Kristanna Loken's taken to the one room that Ben Kingsley's been in. Ben Kingsley only appears in two.
No. Yeah, I was gonna say the one room is unfair.
Yeah, no. Ben Kingsley only appears in two rooms in this film. One in the flashbacks when he killed the mother, and the other is this one room, this throne room. It's a big room. He's got like a little throne. He's also got like a sort of presentation stage area.
Altar.
An altar, there you go. And that's all it is. He's always in this room. She's taken there. And by the way, that tells you that they had Ben Kingsley for 2, maybe 3 days tops, and they shot all of his scenes in about 2 or 3 days.
I think at the end of this movie, where he's doing all this stuff, I think this might be the second time that he stands up in this room.
Yes, we actually cheered when he stood up the first time, because we thought he was going to be in that chair the entire. Because every time it cuts to him, he's just sitting in this chair. And
can we point out that one time it cuts to this chair and he's sat in it? Sorry, he's not even wearing his wig.
Well, you have to explain the wig that he's wearing first. He's got this ridiculous wig on.
He is wearing a stupid, awful wig for 90% of the movie, and It's awful, but it's mostly consistent.
Yeah.
Except there's one scene where it's just not there.
And then, so they bring her out, and because she, like, when she got the eye earlier on in the movie, it, like, bonded with her, so now it's inside her. She absorbed the eye.
Yeah, she absorbed it somehow.
So they have to extract it, so they get her on the altar, and they're going to, like, cut it out of her, I guess. And so, there's the thing. This is it meant to be a female-led, essentially superhero movie, or at least, a hero movie, like a vampire hero. This is meant to be a Buffy-esque, Blade-esque kind of thing.
Yeah, I know this is based on a game, and I've never played it.
Yeah.
I assume you're playing as this woman, so you're pretty much the hero at all times. I know I showed you the cover of the game. There's a lot of cleavage.
Even on the cover of the game, yeah.
Even
so,
on the game.
I mean,
I assume she doesn't get rescued because it's a game.
When we're joking about the cleavage, at least it's true to its game, because the game had cleavage. But go judging by the cover.
In the early 90s,
yeah.
admittedly.
So, but here's the thing. So she's on the altar, like she's tied down, and the two male characters, who have been equally awful, let's be honest, they have to come and rescue her. And then the big fight happens, and they gradually eventually get her cut loose, and she sort of joins in the fight. And there's a lot of awful, like, really bad CG blood. At one point, there's an awful attempt at slow motion where it's more like 5 still frames per second, where she's just kind of like juttering across the screen as she dives. And it is like, because we both went, what the hell was that? What's going on? And it was like, how did he think that looked okay? That's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed watching this.
Yeah, it says a lot about this movie, just to say this point, that usually the only things we watch together and I get drunk for is Arrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this we just like, no, we're watching this together, and this might be worse than any episode of Arrow.
It may be. Oh no, it is. No, it definitely
that says
is.
a lot.
It is,
and it says a lot, right?
It definitely is. Arrow, at least on a technical level, is put together properly.
I think, as much as I've had some problems with Arrow in the direction, I've had some problems with Arrow in the effects department. I have never said with Arrow that, why is that music all in the left instead of
the right?
Even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that dubbing just atrocious?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, Arrow isn't necessarily always directed well. In fact, most of the time it isn't directed that well. But there's just a baseline level that's expected for TV, which it always adheres to. It always hits that minimum level, right?
It always hits at least a 3 out of 10. At its worst, it's a 3 out of 10.
I don't know where you're pulling that number from. I just mean it always hits the minimum level where it's like, no, someone who's professionally paid to direct TV directed this episode. This movie doesn't hit that level. This movie, like, there's awkward edits, there's awkward there's framing, there's like, it just looks bad. Like, like maybe a different lens for this close up might have been an idea, so I don't feel like Michael Madsen's like in my face. Like, there's just so many little things like that, and you get the feeling like there's not much thought goes into a lot of this. It's just, I thoroughly believe the first take that he gets, where they finish the entire, like, shot or scene in one take without, like, breaking down and crying and wishing they were dead in the middle of the scene. He just takes that first full take and moves on.
Yeah, no, I agree, because it shocks me that Ben Kingsley, he's a respected enough actor, but maybe he was going through a rough patch. But even with the tax loopholes, I don't know how he afforded 2 days with him.
One day with Billy Zane, he's only got 2 scenes, so he had not even a whole day. That was a half day.
No, it's a half day. Yeah.
He had a half day with Billy Zane. He had maybe 3 days with Ben Kingsley. Tops. Yeah, maybe just 2, but probably 3. But that's the thing, Uwe Boll, like, in his prime, if to use that word incorrectly, he was pumping out like 3 or 4 movies a year, and you only do that if you're speeding through them. Like,
yeah.
So this was something else. And the movie ends, like, everyone's dead. Every character but her is dead, and she's finally killed the bad guy. Which, again, like, he's got her pinned down, just kind of like he had her mother pinned down, and generic white dude has to, like, try and shoot him with a crossbow to help from the side, and then she, like, finally wins. The movie ends with her getting up, slowly walking over to the throne and sitting in it, And then she just stares at the camera for about 30 seconds until it fades to black finally in the credits roll.
Yeah, it's a really long, awkward pause while it just stares.
And I really can't emphasize enough how ugly this movie is. It sounds bad, it looks bad, acting's awful, the script is nonsensical, it's very generic, but at the same time, like, it kind of like glosses over things it should explain, spends too much time explaining other things. It's just a mess.
No, you're right. It says a lot, but I expected very little of Uwe Boll. Like, having never seen one, I expected very little. And this still managed to be lower than I expected. I thought it would at least have a reasonable sound recording and mix.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed someone else did that and put, the bare minimum effort into that. But no, they didn't.
I actually think The Bye Bye Man's a better film. I saw The Bye Bye Man.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You rated that 1 out of 10.
I did. We do 0.5s now, though, so I mean,
we do, yeah.
So I mean, I can give it a 0.5 out of 10. I could give it a 0. It might deserve a 0.
I don't think I've ever given a movie less than 1 out of 10. But this might be the one.
It may honestly be. Like, think of something, anything positive, anything that worked, anything that they didn't mess up in some capacity. Is there anything positive at all you can say about this?
I'm thinking.
Some people got paid. Yep. That is the only positive thing I can say, is that some people got a job out of it and earned some money. That's all I can say.
Do you know, just at the level of when I get to rating this in a probably in a minute, because we clearly hated this shite. I gave The Room an NA. I couldn't rate it because it was so bad, but I got some enjoyment out of it. In a sick and twisted way of, it was that bad, I kind of enjoyed it.
No, The Room is entertaining. It's entertaining bad. This wasn't entertaining. I mean, we laughed once or twice, but like it wasn't
not enough to justify its 90+ minute runtime.
Oh hell no, not remotely.
No,
this was Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm trying to think of more specific scenes.
I'm not being funny, but to all our patrons who voted on this, I'm very grateful that you're our patrons, and I love you all, but I do hate you right now for making me watch this.
Yeah, but out of the 4 options, though, do you really think any other 3 would have been better?
Probably not, but no, that's true. I hate you personally, you Peter, for choosing this as an option for this Patreon goal. Going, we'll watch an Uwe Boll movie.
They're going to love this.
I do partially hate myself for going, why not?
They're going to love this. This is going to go down a treat for our audience. They're going to love us in pain. That's typically how this works. I don't even.
Yeah, they do love us in pain, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's a cliched scene with the random fortune teller who tells Bloodrayne where to go at one point. That's a thing that happens.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
What was the cliched line that Michelle Rodriguez used at one point?
It wasn't the monsters one, was it?
No, she said something that was like it was like one of the most cliched lines ever.
Yeah, so that's how cliched it was. We can't remember it.
But she said it with such a straight face that it was like, no, Uwe Boll thinks this is something we want to hear.
No. Do you know what I will give the most positive thing I can say about this movie? When Michelle Rodriguez changed costumes, I could tell. I knew she'd change costumes.
Oh, that's right. Rain is wearing this, same outfit from the start of the movie till about, halfway through. And then, generic white dude comes in with a sack and says, here's a change of clothes. And we thought, oh, she's going to change. And we're like, oh, will this have more cleavage or less cleavage? Let's find out. And then the next scene, she walks in and I went, oh, she's wearing the same outfit still. I guess she'll put that other outfit on in the last, for the last act, the last big fight or whatever, right? That'll be like the special gear. And then like one of them says, oh, how do you like your new clothes? And I'm like, wait, what?
This is the new clothes?
What happened? And thinking back, I'm like, okay, I think yes, the arm things weren't there before, but it's still a black and red outfit. It's still
it's the exact same as far as my memory's concerned.
Yeah, I never noticed it changing. It looked the same.
Yeah, like I say, Rodriguez, she changed outfits, and we noticed. We went, "Oh, that's a different outfit." I mean, there's still a lot of cleavage, but we noticed.
Well,
it was a different outfit.
we only noticed her outfit changed because the first outfit she was wearing was this ridiculous thing that was like a half corset, and then like a shirt underneath that was like they had the midriff exposed.
A very thin shirt.
Yes, so it was like a thin shirt and then like half a corset that was really high up, just under the breast line, and it was this most ridiculous. And then she had like a cape or like a something.
She did have a cape. She changed it to a bluish, a blue denim jacket.
It was a cloak. That's what it was. It wasn't a cape. It was a cloak. But same difference. She looked ridiculous. It was like, oh, we wanted it to look like medieval times, but sexy, and has like revealing. But she was going around doing these kicks and stuff, and it just looked impractical. It looked like she was having a hard time actually doing the moves because of this outfit. It was. And again, this is the thing. It's not like there's never been a movie, even a good movie, that's had like an outfit that's impractical for fighting, right? But they shoot it in a way.
Many a good movie has.
But they shoot it in a way that hides it. They know the limitations and they hide it. Uwe Boll never does that. Every single fight scene in this movie, he just says go for it. There's almost every time someone gets stabbed in this movie, you can tell they're not applying enough pressure, which, by the way, leads me to my other complaint, is every single blade, every single sword looks really fake and round.
No, you're right. There was a point where there was a sword where I think it was the lead character, Rain, stabbing someone. I'm not entirely sure now. She was stabbing someone, and there was no pressure applied whatsoever. And I thought, I think I said out loud, like, maybe that blade's ridiculously sharp, don't get me wrong, but it still takes some pressure to stab someone, right?
Yeah, and it was the one I noticed at first was when Udo Kier went down. The bad guy stabbed him, and he just kind of like walked forward into the blade, and it was just really, it was so lax.
It looks like a knife going into soft butter.
Yeah, and then the other thing with her blades, she's got these like fancy two blades that are like sort of almost like nightsticks with blades on either end that she uses on both hands. And at one point, randomly, when she's sparring, her blade just snaps for no reason. It just snaps. There's no reason for it whatsoever.
Yeah, the other blade just snaps it.
Yeah.
Like, she comes to block it, and then the sword just snaps. I don't really know why.
And here's the thing. There's the scene after that, Michael Madsen sits down and says, hey, we've got a guy that may be able to help you with that. You know, implying, oh, we'll get you some new, better versions made or fixed or whatever. So I was expecting a scene where she gets her new versions and she's like, yeah, this is badass. Not in those words, but that scene never happens. She just has her blades back by the end of the movie. She just got them in the final fight. There's no scene of like, hey, here's the fancy new version or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my god, this is it. Just again to show how bad the editing is. There's one of the times she stabs one of the bad guys. She stabs someone in the stomach. And she puts her blade in, and she swipes towards him, and the camera cuts, and then it cuts into a close-up of the blade already inside it, but it stopped moving. It's like the actual motion doesn't match it, so it cuts to it already just kind of sticking inside him with the blood pouring out, and then she pulls it out, and all that would have taken to fix would be a slight change in the edit, just letting the first shot last longer so you see the motion stop first, and it doesn't feel weird. Or make sure you do the second shot with some motion coming in, so it looks like it's just landed. Like either of these would have fixed it.
No, you're right. It's a really simple fix.
Yeah,
they just didn't do it.
It's basic scene shooting and editing, very basic, and it's just not there. It's terrible. And the last point I want to make is I want to emphasize every time there was a battle, and sometimes there was quite long battles with lots of different people fighting at the same time. Every single time it gave me a headache. It was awful to watch. It was nauseating. And it's one thing to say, oh, this fight scene is not well shot, it's not exciting. It's another to say it's actively making me feel sick because it's all over the place. Let's rate it. I'm done. Rate it.
I'm going to go with a 0.5. I didn't think it was possible to go that low. I mean, I don't think it's possible to give any movie a 0 because something ended up on camera. So it's above a 0. Right, you know, there was film in the camera when they shot, so it's not a 0. But it's not even a 1. the camera. You know, we talk about extensively how awful the direction of the camera shots were. There's not even a technical level on the sound. Acting is atrocious. Yeah, no, it's not a 1. It's a 0.5.
Directing's horrible. Music is generic. Script is terrible. It leaves things out. It's confusing as to what's a flashback and what's not. The line deliveries are just actors staring at the camera. The female lead, the hero, needs to be saved by the 2 men at the end, which is just bullshit script writing. You don't do that to your
insulting.
hero. Yeah, it's insulting. 0. No, it's not going to 0.5 out of me. It's not doing it. Anyone can pick up a phone and film something. Anyone can get something on the screen. I'm not giving that credit.
So that's a fair point. I'm thinking this must have been done before that was a thing, right? But it's not, is it?
No, 2007. People. I mean, not as good as it would be now, but you could get a camera phone.
Is it 07? Are you confident on that?
I'm on IMDb right now. 2007. Oh, sorry, 2005. Okay, no, I was wrong. I was saying that
05 is before an iPhone.
Yeah, but you did get camera phones. That was a thing.
Oh, you did.
And besides, just because it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't change the fact that it's as bad as that.
You're right. Fuck it. It's a 0.
It's a 0 out of 10. I'm not giving it any higher than that. I'm not even giving it a 1 or a 0.5. It does not deserve it. It is garbage. It is straight up Z grade garbage. I was going to say Z grade.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But Z grade sounds weird, so Z grade garbage.
But Z grade is correct. Z grade.
You said it the wrong way.
I was just going with the last one that you said.
You tried to correct me, then you said no. You agreed with me essentially.
Yeah. No, I did.
Hilarious.
I've had way too much.
Apparently, you have. So no, I feel sorry. I feel so happy that some of these actors went on to be able to go into, you know, Fast and the Furious became big again, and I don't like that franchise that much, but at least it gave Michelle Rodriguez a job that she's not ashamed of.
I feel happy that we finished it.
You know, Ben Kingsley's obviously been back in some proper stuff. Spielberg's been giving him some things here or there. Michael Madsen gets a call from Tarantino once in a while, so he's not completely, you know.
He's probably in, what's the one he's doing next summer, in 69?
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's probably in that.
He's probably in that, right?
I guess he gets the odd job here or there. Like, this is.
You're right. No, you're right. It is a 0 out of 10. I was being generous, giving it a 0.5 at first.
Well, it's worse than the Bye Bye Man. It's on par actually. Do you know what it's on par with? Me and Tim did a movie called It Watches, and it was this horrible thing where it was filmed on a really low quality camera, and it was awful. And I think I still give that like a 1 or a 0.5 at least, because at least this was clearly like no money, and they just wanted to see if they could do it. Like they just tried their best, even though they're terrible at this, and they wrote a horrible script. All the actors are terrible. It's boring. It's not paced properly. But this
had some level of budget.
Yes, this had a budget. There's no excuse for a movie with a budget to be this bad. There should be other people. There should be assistant directors. There should be other people there trying to at least make sure there's a standard of quality.
To be fair, I occasionally, when we were watching it, said, that shot's all right, with the wide shots of the B unit clearly doing some, you know, just establishing shots of people riding on horses.
I didn't like.
But then they overused that and ruined it.
They overused it, but I also didn't like how it looked anyway, because they put this horrible like filter on it, this color.
Yeah, no, the filter was awful, but at least the actual, just in terms of what the camera was seeing, it was a functioning shot.
Yeah, because it was a beast unit. It wasn't Uwe Boll shot.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was a B unit. You're right.
That's Bloodrayne. Thanks, patrons. You can inflict more punishment on us by going to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and supporting the show and the channel and everything we do. You get to vote on a movie once a month. If it gets to 250 now, you get another Uwe Boll vote. So, you know, that's the thing.
You know what? I'm dreading that even more than I was this one.
Yeah, because now you know what to fear. Now you've experienced it. And
yeah, I always knew it was going to be bad, but it's worse than I thought.
Oh my god. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.